Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at theDove.us. Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and a delight always to have John Mittendorf in the studio with us. John is our in-house researcher apologist. He also worked with Answers in Genesis, and we've been talking about for several weeks now. It all sparked from the movie Noah, and out of that came all the questions about the flood. What happened to the water? Where did it come from? Where did it go? What can we learn from it?
How big was the ark?
No,
how to hold all the animals?
How to do all the animals, all those things. By the way, we're going to give away some items, and let me just kind of whet your appetite. What'd you bring here, John?
Well, first of all, I've got Noah's Ark, Thinking Outside the Box, which is an outstanding book, and they're good coffee table books.
Yeah.
And this explains a lot of stuff that we've talked about so far, Perry, and a lot more.
All right.
And then number 2, which is another good coffee table book, which is Noah's Ark, which is also a great book. And with that, I think we're going to include Ray Comfort's DVD on Noah and the Ark, which he just came out with probably about a month ago, something like that.
So be listening. Coming up in a few moments here, we'll tell you, we'll take some calls and we'll tell you what callers will win one of the books and the DVD.
Right.
All right. Also, the notes. The notes are done, and he's got part 3 here. Where did the flood water come from, and where did it go?
Right.
So 1, 2, and 3 are all done, right?
Well, actually, that's just a summary of the big set of notes here, which is the 15-pager. By the way, Perry,
15 pages.
I've got to thank the people in the Dove audience. Your people are the best.
Yes.
You know? But since we've been doing this series, I have been deluged with emails on people wanting the notes, but telling me stories on how they've used the notes and been able to share them with other people. It's been outstanding.
Wonderful.
It's been outstanding, yeah.
All right. You can get a set of notes here or his people.
Yeah,
my people.
You know, his people rejoice at gmail.com.
All right. His people rejoice at gmail.com. We should put that up at the bottom of the screen.
Yep. So just write me. I'd be happy to send them out.
All right. He can email them back to his people rejoice at gmail.com, and then he'll send you a whole file on these notes, and they're outstanding.
Right.
All right. So
let's cover 4 big questions this
Where
morning.
did the water come from? I mean, 40 days of rain still wouldn't cover the earth, would it?
Well, you know, God could have done it in 5 minutes if he wanted to.
Oh, well. Okay.
But why 40? And we'll talk about that. But a couple of the biggest questions on the flood is, first of all, and we covered this last time, how could the ark have held all those animals? And we covered that.
Yeah, right.
But today I basically want to cover the other biggies on the flood, and that is, where did the flood waters come from? Mm-hmm. That's a good question. Mm-hmm. Where did they go? That's another good question.
Yeah.
Okay, and then, are there evidences today for a global flood?
Can you say Grand Canyon?
Because that is true. That is true.
Yeah.
And then also, what did we learn from the flood? You know, it happened, but have we learned from it? Or are there lessons to be learned from the flood?
Well, as in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man.
The Son of Man is exactly right. Yeah. So why don't we start out where the floodwaters come from?
Where did they come from?
And let's go basically to Genesis, the 7th chapter, verses 6 through 16. And there's a couple of key phrases that I want to focus in on. And then we'll get to the high-tech scientific stuff, because this is really cool. This is the phrase that's used in Genesis 7. All the fountains of the great deep burst open. And when you look at the Hebrew in Webster's dictionary, that word burst means to suddenly come apart violently and explode. Mm-hmm. And as you and I have talked about before, that to a large degree, a lot of scholars think that when the flood started, and I'll talk about this in just a second, as the earth split, and what that means, is that a lot of scholars feel that basically when the flood started, that God was reversing creation, or taking the earth back to its original state, which was water, all water. Wow. The earth started out as water. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the earth, the way it's made, we have the core, then you have the mantle, which is about 1,800 miles, then you have the crust, which we live on. The crust is about 5 miles thick, I think. Mm-hmm. And so what we have down underneath the crust in the mantle, they're not really sure. In fact, University of Missouri, their scientific department has recently isolated a large body of water underneath the crust they feel is as large as the Arctic Ocean. So we don't know really how much water is really down there. But the bottom point, Perry, is that if the earth started out as water and then God starts to reverse the process, so to speak, that the amount of water it would have taken to have flooded the earth wouldn't have been a big deal. Now the question is, okay, well then how did he do that? See, and that's a great question. So basically what happens is, when we read the text, all the fountains of the great deep burst open, and then it started to rain. And this is basically what they feel happened.
Is the water down below hot?
It was when the ocean floor split open and the water fell down to the hot magma that's down underneath that, which is the core of the earth. Is exactly right. But what they feel is that when it says the fountains of the deep burst open, violently exploded, burst forth, they feel the continental rift, which is like a seam going around a baseball, that the earth split open. And as the sea floor, which is now floating on top of the mantle, dove down to the mantle, the cold water would have gone down with it. Now this is all around the earth. As that went down, as that approaches 7,000 degrees, which is close to the core of the earth, what would have happened?
Well, steam.
It would have violently exploded back up as supersonic jets back up into the atmosphere of this earth, which would have then returned as
rain
or water. Exactly right. Now, is there any proof of that? Well, I'm so glad you
asked that question.
I'm just so glad you asked me that question. And yes, there is. You know, science has a lot of good aspects of it, but science has now discovered, using the same technology that they use when they go around and they use sonic waves down through the strata of the earth. Where is oil? Where is gas? That as they look down through the crust and then the mantle, down by the core, what do you expect that they found? And they found large portions of the seafloor still down there, by the core of the earth.
Wow.
Yeah. Which tends to prove that the ocean seafloor dove down when the earth split open. And you know what's interesting about that, Perry, is that when they discovered that, that is another reason why the earth is young and not old. Because if the earth was old, the seafloor that dove down by the core, if it's about 7,000 degrees down there, if the earth is millions and millions of years old, it would have been gone. They would have melted.
Wow.
But they're still there. In huge, well, immense pieces. It's really tough to describe.
Wow.
So yeah, so that is a classic example. Also, they feel that's basically when plate tectonics started, and that you had a lot of volcanic activity during that time. So they also feel that plate tectonics would have happened. You'd have had earthquakes. You'd have had volcanic activity. That the ocean floor, when you had the water diving down, then you would have had magma coming up. It would have taken the seafloor and it would have raised it, which would have taken the oceans and inundated the then known earth.
Oh, okay.
70% of the earth is water, 30% is land. So water is not really a problem. You know, where are we going to get the water to flood the earth?
All right, so
that's basically where the water came from.
From the splitting of the core,
right,
creating the explosion of the steam, and, and that going up, creating the clouds, down comes the rain. And
the seafloor coming up, which would have raised the ocean levels, which would have helped inundate the then known earth.
Okay.
Okay.
So before we leave and go as to then what happened, but any idea how long that took?
About 150 days for that. Of course, then it rained for 40 days. So it's possible